was only a few days ago I said that was it for Christmas beers for this year, but it turns out I lied because this one both piqued my interest and ruined my bank account. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are in for yet another Christmas beer for 2023. I said that was it, but we were done, but I was out in the wild a few days ago in a bottle shop in one of my local towns, and I spied this. There was someone in there drinking it. They actually had it coming up on tap. I think it came on actually the night after I was there, but suddenly couldn't get down, couldn't do a review on it anyway if I did do that. But yes, people were singing very high praises of it, which, well, they should do because it's blemmin' expensive. Now, I was overreacting a little bit at the start. They didn't actually bankrupt me, but I've been saying for a long time that I really want big, heavy Imperial Stouts to come in smaller volumes. 330ml cans sounds fantastic, and that is exactly what this is. But as you'll notice, it's not the regular 330ml can. This is kind of like the Red Bull style, energy drink style, which is interesting. I have no doubt it will give you lots of energy, being a Gingerbread Imperial Stout at 16%, but yeah, the price tag attached to that though is £10 a can for a 330ml can, which is absurd. But when someone's singing such high praises about something and then the price tag is that, I'm like, I gotta know. I need to find out, at least so you don't have to and you can save your money, because let's be honest, it's from Vault City, which is a brewery I've not been that nice about in the past. It's not, I don't dislike them, I would never tell anyone not to buy from them, but ultimately what they've traditionally done at least is made very, very high quality sour beers that for me just don't quite work. As in, I don't get the beery hit, I don't get any of the base ingredients. It just feels like a boozy fruit smoothie to me, and that's my personal opinion, and that's all it ever has been. This, though, is an Imperial Stout, something they've started doing recently, and I don't know that I've ever had one from them. I was about to say I might have had a collab that they've done with someone else, but incidentally, this is also a collab with Nerdbrewing, an open source beer company. What is open source brewing, I hear you ask? Well, actually, the name Nerdbrewing and the fact their tagline is open source beer is actually just a hark back to their owner's computer science background, which incidentally is something that I've also got. And open source is basically just software that goes out onto the internet and anyone can use for any purpose. There's no agreements with it. There's no real kind of, you don't get any support with it normally, but it's there if you want it and you can try and make it do what you want it to do. If it doesn't work, it's all on you kind of stuff. What they've done is taken that philosophy, turned it into a brewery. It is a profitable brewery. It's not entirely open source. You can't just go and take the beer, but they do give their recipes out for home brewers to try themselves, which is quite interesting. I believe they are a Swedish brewery, and yeah, it's an interesting concept if nothing else. So then, what actually is this very expensive, very small can of beer? It is a Vault City Nerdbrewing collab, a DDF Gingerbread Imperial Stout at 16%. What is DDF? I feel like there's a lot of explainers going on here, and ultimately, when you have to explain half the things written on the front, it's probably not that cool anymore, is it? But anyway, DDF is a play on words from DDH, which stands for double dry hopped, which basically means after the brew is done, they hop it twice with dry hops. It's not going through the boil stage. DDF is a play on words, as I said, to mean double deep fried, given Vault City's Scottish roots. There's nothing actually deep fried about it, so if you were tuning into this hoping to see me actually deep fry some beer, well, you're probably going to be disappointed. I do not own a deep fat fryer, and I definitely wouldn't be chucking a very expensive beer into it if I did. But it's an interesting concept, and there is some info on the side of the can which we'll get into a little bit later. But before we do, let's just show you the can, because it's a pretty thing. I say, funny little kind of Red Bull size 330ml can. Loads of typical Vault City stuff on there. Very nicely done. It's an awkward thing to hold actually with it being so thin. But there we go. Yeah. It's alright. Let's get into it. I mean, it's It looks like motor oil coming out of there, which actually is quite impressive. So many stouts I pour and it's just kind of, I don't know, not quite what you were expecting. Because of that insane 16% ABV, it does look a little bit lackluster in the glass. There's no head to speak of whatsoever. It is thick though, it's gloopy. My glass is heavy despite only having 330 mils of beer in it. And yeah, it looks like motor oil. There's nothing else really to say about it. It is the abyss of beers. It's the darkest thing possibly I've ever seen in a glass. But yeah, it's thick. You can say the way it moves around, it doesn't splash, it just kind of ripples with waves, which is interesting. Anyway, aroma time. That is the most convincing gingerbread beer aroma I've ever smelt, like hands down. Big, thick, syrupy treacle, vanilla, sugar cookie, and absolutely heaps of kind of crystallized caramelized ginger. It's absolutely there. It's not, I was expecting a bit more spiky, raw, proper, punchy ginger, given how big and how, big a thing this is, but it doesn't smell 16%. It smells dangerous, and I'm torn. I want to really like this because I don't want to feel like I've wasted my money, but at the same time, I feel like it kind of doesn't matter what this is that's too much, so part of me wants to not like it, but anyway, I'm torn. So this is effectively a very neutral review in that regard. Let's give it a go, shall we? Cheers. Merry Christmas. Oh. That is bananas. That isn't just gingerbread. That is like going face first into the biggest, richest ginger sponge cake in the world. It is so thick, it's so sweet, it's so annoyingly delicious. It really is. Like, it is absolutely incredible. And on my first sip, I was about to say, it's incredible, but Vault City have done what they normally do and kind of removed any indication that actually there is a beer under here. But I don't think that's right. On that second sip, I start to get just a little bit of spiky bitterness, a little bit of a sharper edge, something just ticking away in the background there that did, hark back to a proper Impy Stout. Make no doubts about it, this is as big an adjunct beer as you're ever gonna get, but it is a damn good one, and there still actually might be some beer left under there after all. Because this is 16%, we're going to jump straight into a top to bottom taste test, because if I keep sipping this and talking, then, well, there won't be much cognitive function left to actually describe anything by the end of the video. So, initially, right on the tip of the tongue, the first thing that hits you is how thick it is. It's proper slick, proper oil stuff. I mean, it just is engine oil consistency. There's almost no carbonation whatsoever, but it doesn't matter. The thing itself is so thick, it makes it an enjoyable experience on its own. That, and just a shed load of big, deep, dark sugar sweetness, like super, like almost burnt treacly, right on the tip of the tongue. It's super sweet, super indulgent, super big, lets you know right away it's not messing around, and yeah, it's big time. Then, across the first third, treacle notes carry on. Really big, almost cinder toffee, an absolute shed load of big, rich, sweet, crystallized ginger come in. And interestingly, it's not that dynamic. It's not heaps of different flavors. It's very much fixed. It feels like a ginger cake, like I've already said. Then, over the kind of mid palate, all the previous notes carry on. You start to just pick up a little bit of something that goes, there is an Impy Stout in here somewhere. It's slightly bitter, but what really gives it away is that default kind of stout licorice note. Talk about it all the time, and it's there, slightly fruity, slightly sharp, and it just helps carry everything on and stops what is otherwise just an absolute confectionery mess from becoming, well, a mess. It actually helps balance it out a little bit, keeps it going, until of course you get to the back of the tongue, where interestingly, the flavours haven't really changed again. We've had variances in escalation and intensity of the different notes from the very front of the tongue all the way to the back, and we've had that introduction of the slightly bitter, slightly licoricey thing halfway down, but the actual kind of taste of the beer, it's big, sweet, molasses, syrupy, you know, treacly stuff, a load of crystallized ginger, and, or to be honest, not a lot else, all the way through. And I think that's to do with just the weight of the beer. Like, it's so thick, it's so cloying that those dominant parts just stick to your tongue, don't let anything else get in. However, all is not lost, because on the aftertaste, stuff does start to change around and become a little bit more varied. You get a bit of a breath of fresh air. There is some hop character coming through. The hops aren't necessarily delivering kind of aromatic tones like they normally would, but there's just like that kind of almost, you know, the kind of citrus meets menthol, kind of clearing the airways experience that goes on. And now I'm sitting here and letting it permeate. Ginger meets a bit of maybe caramelized orange peel that's going on, and then you get in this kind of nice vanilla residual kind of sugar cookie thing. It's a bizarre beer. There's no doubt about it. And I keep trying to find more little notes, more little things, because something this big, there should be 1,001 flavours in it, in my mind. That's how I feel about it going in. And reality is that actually it's only got about 5 or 6 that I can pick out, but they're all big, brash, really well done, feel very organic. Doesn't feel like it's synthetically flavoured, which, well, we're going to find out in a minute when we take a look at the can, but you know what I mean? Like, it feels like a legitimate, massively sweet gingerbread cake has been thrown in to the fermenter on this. But how they've actually done it, I guess we'll find out in a moment. It's a curious one. I'm not going to say whether it's worth the money right now, we'll come back to it in a moment, but before I lose the ability to talk due to this 16% beer, let's take a quick look at the can. So, as I've already said, on the front, Vault City DDF Gingerbread Imperial Stout twinned with Nerdbrewing Open Source Beer, 16%. And then it goes on to say, DDF Gingerbread Imperial Stout, product of Scotland. The ingredients are water, malted barley, oats, ginger, hops, and yeast. Really? I was about to claim that there's no way that's true. But then it's just occurred to me. This beer is 16%. The malt bill required for 16% is hefty, to say the least. If that's legit, it's kind of... I'm never going to say it's worth it, but it's almost excused, is what I'll say. It was brewed in can in the UK at Vault City in Edinburgh. Thankfully, it doesn't tell us how many units are in this can. It says, our double deep fried series is back, and this ungodly Scottish tradition has given a festive makeover in our latest super high voltage, good pun, Vault City, high voltage Imperial Stout, brought to life with the help of our pals at Nerdbrewing. That's all it says, really. Not a lot of info. The best before is the 2nd of November 2028. To put that into perspective, that's 5 years. 5 years since it was made, which is, well, I was about to say impressive, but 16% probably not really. But it is what it is. It's a curiosity. I really like ginger, gingerbread, ginger cake, all that stuff. It's what drew me to it. I really do get on with it. And as a result, I'm having a fabulous time. If that ingredients list is absolutely all that's gone into it, then it is a bit of a brewing marvel. Like, it is very, very impressive, but only if. If that's not the case, then there are other additives that have gone into it. It's a bit of a con, but we've got to believe them. It's what they've put on the side of the can, and as a result, I'm actually pretty happy about this. I mean, it doesn't pass the litmus test, though, of would I go out and buy another one? This is a one and done experience. Like, I'm really happy with it. It's fantastic. It's a sweet treat. It's Christmas Eve. No, it's not Christmas Eve. That was a previous video. It's Christmas time. You know, I'm having a nice time with it, but that price is a bit problematic. So unless you really, really, really like gingerbread, ginger cake, ginger, yeah, probably best to leave it to those that do. But I'm very glad I've tried it, and I think that 16% is helping me not regret it so much as well. But anyway, that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers. Merry Christmas.